Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm Natasha Ploenges, the CEO of the Health and Medical Research Office. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners on whose land we meet today. For me, it's the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people in the Canberra region. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and also acknowledge that we are across country as well. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for joining us today for this webinar. Really what we're going to be covering off is a presentation, and it will be about taking you through both some Health and Medical Research Office, or better known for the Medical Research Future Fund, but taking you through some of that context, but also giving you information about the refresh process, the role of the expert advisory panel, and the new roadmap and implementation plan for the Australian Brain Cancer Mission. As you can see, we've just given the table of contents for you on this slide. We will be having a discussion, and there will be questions and answers that you can go to. You can submit feedback, and that will be via Consultation Hub. Next slide, please. As you can see, you will be muted, or hopefully you are muted upon joining. That does help to minimise any background noise. You can send in Q&A or questions as part of that interactive Q&A, and we have allocated 1 hour for this presentation. Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay. By way of background, with the Medical Research Future Fund, it was established in 2015, so that is under the Medical Research Future Fund Act. It is a fund that had hit a minimum target of $20 billion, so it managed to reach that target recently. It has then grown, so in December 2023, it grew to be a $22 billion fund. The fund itself is very much about having that long-term investment to actually support Australian health and medical research. The MRFF itself very much aims to transform health and medical research and innovation to improve lives, build the economy, and contribute to our health system's sustainability. There are complementary Australian government-funded health and medical research in Australia. The two largest of those is the Medical Research Future Fund, of course, which provides $650 million annually for health and medical research. It awards funding for national priorities, also for priority areas that address gaps in research, and it creates those opportunities for research translation and commercialisation to improve the health and wellbeing of Australians. In addition, there is the National Health and Medical Research Council, which primarily awards funding through investigator-led research. Between both the Medical Research Future Fund and the funding provided through the National Health and Medical Research Council, it's equivalent to about $1.5 billion annually that is provided for health and medical research in Australia. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this slide is really just to be able to demonstrate to you where along that idea and research pipeline that the NH&MRC's work fits, as well as the Medical Research Future Fund and also the Biomedical Translation Fund. So that's the BTF that you see towards the bottom of the screen. So I've mentioned the MRFF already, but the Biomedical Translation Fund which is also led through the Health and Medical Research Office, is really about looking much more towards that commercialisation and translation piece, and it provides companies with venture capital through licensed private sector fund managers as well. Next slide, please. So I won't go through all of these elements, but this slide is just to give you a sense of some of the key features of the Medical Research Future Fund, and really some of the ways that it differs from some of the other health and medical research funded programs. So one of the key elements for the MRFF is that it is flexible and it's responsive. So it enables us to actually capitalise on health and medical research strengths, but also respond to emerging issues and priorities. One very good example of that, of course, is in relation to the pandemic and COVID-19. And during that time, the MRFF had provided more than $135 million in research funding for COVID-19. As I had mentioned before, the MRFF is priority led. So those priorities are actually set and then renewed every 2 years by our independent and expert Australian Medical Research Advisory Board. That helps to make sure, of course, that the priorities that the MRFF is funding are contemporary, that they are built on evidence, but they are also built on consultation. So part of the work of the Australian Medical Research Advisory Board is to undertake national consultation when it's setting those priorities. In terms of the outcome-focused component, there is a very strong engagement and collaboration focus for the MRFF itself. Other elements that you may be interested to know is also in terms of innovation. So with the MRFF, we are continually trying to improve the way we work, but also the grants that we fund. And we utilise different grant models or different grant funding models, including, of course, incubator grants that support that early stage and short-term research projects, as well as accelerator grants that support some of those larger scale multidisciplinary research projects to help drive that innovation and drive that translation as well. Next slide, please. Now, with the MRFF, we had recently, so that was in May this year, had the Minister for Health and Aged Care announce the third 10-year investment plan for the MRFF. So that 10-year investment plan is not only sort of building on the previous investment plan, but it was also changing some of the areas and some of the focus for the research for the next 10 years. We are now at a stage where the MRFF and that third 10-year investment plan is providing $6.5 billion of funding. And that's from the current financial year, 2024-25, through to 2033-34. There are 22 initiatives which are continuing to be supported through the MRFF. Now, we do have 4 themes, and as you can see on the slide, those themes are patients, research missions, researchers, and research translation. I won't go through all of the details of those 4 themes or the 22 initiatives, but you can indeed find more information about the MRFF third 10-year investment plan on the Department of Health and Aged Care's website. The plan is printed there, and you can see what those initiatives and those themes are providing, and it goes into more detail. Next slide, please. Now, with the MRFF missions, which is one of the reasons, of course, that we are having the conversation today in particular, those missions focus particularly on areas of unmet need or a technology with transformational potential. So again, it's priority-led. They are 10-year programs of work, and they bring together key researchers, health professionals, consumers, communities, and industry partners as well. We do have 10 missions, and as part of that, one of those missions is the Australian Brain Cancer Mission. Next slide, please. So what I would like to do is now introduce you to the chair of the Australian Brain Cancer Mission Expert Advisory Panel. So Professor Maria Kavallaris, she's the founding director of the Australian Centre for Nanomedicine at the University of New South Wales, and also the head of Translational Cancer Nanomedicine theme at the Children's Cancer Institute, and a National Health and Medical Research Council investigator as well. She is absolutely recognised for her innovation and her real connection and passion for driving multidisciplinary research and care, particularly in the cancer space. I would very much like now to hand over and introduce you to Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. It was a great introduction to the MRFF, and it's a great pleasure to be here today to talk to you about the work we've done on the MRFF Brain Cancer Mission. Next slide, please. But just to give you a little bit of context where the Brain Cancer Mission funding has been going, where it started, where it's going. The mission has been investing $126.4 million over 10 years to support research into brain cancer. And approximately 50 million of this is from the MRFF, and about 76.4 million to date has been committed from funding partners, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. So out of that $126.4 million, we've already invested $107.21 million into various programs. There's been 8 MRFF grant opportunities and as well as sort of spending about $33 million on that. The funding partners have also put in close to $74 million of investment. So the MRFF has invested in brain cancer through these initiatives, outside of the mission as well. So there's other programs that have also invested in brain cancer, but they may not be under the brain cancer mission if they fit in one of the other categories as well. And you can see the bar graphs there showing how much has already been allocated and the remaining funds that are left. Next slide, please. So Cancer Australia actually leads the engagement and collaboration with the mission's funding partners. And this has clearly brought in a lot of extra money into this initiative. I'll just quickly go through their names without going through how much they've spent, but the Cure Brain Cancer Foundation has put up obviously a significant amount. Minter Room Foundation, Kerry's Beanies for Brain Cancer, Mark Hughes Foundation, Children's Hospital Foundation Queensland, the State of Victoria, the Kids Cancer Projects, the State of New South Wales, Financial Markets Foundation for Children, Robert Connor Dawes Foundation, ACT Health and Canberra Health Services, and Neurosurgical Research Foundation. So these are really valuable partnerships to help us achieve our mission as well. Next slide, please. So there's already been investment, as you heard. We're now 7 years into this mission, and some of the projects that have been funded to date are just listed here. The first one here is the supporting the Australian brain cancer research as an integrated network of platforms and projects, and this included things like registries and biobanking. Another project that was supported was the off-the-shelf CAR T-cell immunotherapy for brain cancer. This is a form of immunotherapy for those who are not aware of this. And this is a way to be able to assess a new way of targeting T cells, which are designed to target cells that are actually supporting the growth of what we call cancer stem cells, which initiate these cancers. And the third project is called Glimmer, and it's a glioma liquid biopsy and multi-omic monitoring enabled research platform. And essentially what this means is it's a way to be able to understand the factors that result in treatment behaviour for patients, but also a way to identify new targets and develop non-invasive ways to monitor brain cancer progression, and in this case it was for glioblastoma, which is the most common adult brain cancer. Next slide, please. So the next step, so we have 16.76 million of MRFF funding to spend as part of this last triage of the brain cancer, the Australian Brain Cancer Mission, and we've already announced one round that the 2024 Brain Cancer Discovery and Translation Grant Opportunity. Applications that are currently open and close in February 2025. And the investment that we're making has been guided by the Refresh Roadmap Implementation Plan, which we're currently, this is why we're undergoing the national consultation and seeking your feedback. And I'll go through the different steps about the roadmap, but also the implementation plan to make sure that we are on the right track, and if there's anything we may have missed. Next slide, please. So as part of the Australian Brain Cancer Mission, this and refresh process, as we call it, is I'll just take you through, historically how this started. The Australian Brain Cancer Mission started in 2017. It's when it was first established. The investments were actually guided by the mission's roadmap and the mission's strategic advisory group. And then, like every other MRFF mission, we underwent a review in 2023. And this was a midterm review, and it was an independent review to really assess whether the mission's, was progressing against its goals and what the impact of the mission was as well. Once that review was completed, the expert advisory panel that I chair was formed, and this led to a refreshing of the roadmap. Is what we were meant to do, as well as develop an implementation plan to ensure the investment priorities are fit for purpose going forward. We're now at the public consultation stage, and that's why we're having this webinar. You would have seen the documentation that got released, and we really encourage all of you to take this opportunity to contribute to the direction of the mission and tell us what you like, what you may think should be changed. And this will all be considered as the consultation wraps up. And then the idea is that by early next year, we will look at all the consultation documents and have a final refresh strategic documents of both the roadmap and the implementation plan to move forward with the new grant opportunities. Next slide, please. So the review of the mission, I just mentioned that the MRFF Monitoring Evaluation Learning Strategy 2020, 21 and 23, 24 states that regular reviews are to be undertaken of the 22 MRFF initiatives. So each MRFF initiative undergoes a midterm review. The Department of Health and Aged Care commissioned the Centre for International Economics and who conducted the review of the mission. And this was published in December 2023 on the department's website, so you would have had access to that. The review assessed the progress of the Australian Brain Cancer Mission against its goals and the impact of the mission. And the expert advisory panel, which I've been chairing, we actually looked at this review and actually considered the opportunities identified as part of that review. So this informed part of our refresh of the roadmap and the development of the implementation plan. And we actually had some members in common who were on this review panel, are also on our expert advisory panel, and that was very valuable as well. Next slide, please. So the expert advisory panel was formed to provide the Minister for Health and Aged Care with essentially advice on our strategic priorities for research investment through this mission. And our role was to define evidence and knowledge gaps that we really do need to address through the mission research funding to assist in transforming healthcare and health outcomes for both individuals and communities. So some of the key research questions we needed to identify as well. So essentially, if they were answered, would actually deliver meaningful change to patients through the translation of research. And also to refresh, as I mentioned, the mission roadmap and the implementation, and create an implementation plan. The expert advisory panel included expertise across research, clinical, commercial, lived experience of brain cancer, as well as mission funding partner representation. And the breadth of expertise that was on this panel was truly impressive. And so, we were able to really nut out a lot of aspects about brain cancer and the needs of the community, as well as direction from the experts about where to go. So next slide, please. So this is the names of all the expert advisory panel. I won't read them all. Again, these are all published online. I will also mention that we had an overseas expert as well who joined our meetings, and that was incredibly valuable as well, and also gave us the international perspective on some of the work we were doing, as well as our consumer advocates and our funding partners, as well as the researchers and the clinical input as well. Next slide, please. So let's, the important thing is to get your input into the refresh roadmap. So the roadmap is really about our goals, mission and scope of the mission. So the goal was transformative improvement to the quality and length of life of people with brain cancer, with a longer term aim of defeating brain cancer. And our mission is to contribute to achieving this goal by concentrating research efforts into areas of critical importance, in areas not already targeted through existing initiatives. And this is quite important. We didn't want to be overlapping with other programs. And to do this, to achieve this, the mission's going to make investments in research to achieve improved patient survival, quality of life and care experiences, advancement in the fundamental understanding of brain cancer, the increase in equitable access and participation in clinical trials, as well as expanding research platforms and technologies, improve healthcare services, increase researcher capacity and excellence, and stronger partnerships between academia, industry, community, and charities. So while the mission itself cannot influence, the actual implementation into hospitals, the research that's being done is focused to ensure that we can try and translate successful research findings into the clinic. Next slide, please. So the implementation plan, the implementation strategy is designed to guide how we're going to invest the next triage of funding, our research investment, for the remainder of the mission. So essentially it establishes a strategic plan to address the mission's goal within the context of this next third-year 10-year plan, the third 10-year plan. And the research, we also show as part of this, because this is a 10-year plan, the research already funded and how it fits under the priority areas of investment that the ERP developed. It also establishes a way to evaluate the approaches and measures. In other words, how do we know we're being successful here? So we need evaluation approaches, and that's integrated into the implementation plan and all the supported activities around that. It also identifies additional activities outside of the mission that may be required to achieve success and opportunities to leverage additional investment. A bit like what I mentioned in the previous slide about when it comes to implementation into hospitals or take up of hospitals or healthcare. There's a separate body of work there, but the mission, the brain cancer mission, is really geared up towards funding research to support these initiatives, so we can facilitate that. The next slide, please. So the implementation plan, so the aims in the implementation plan match the roadmap, and they're, in terms of the big picture, they're to improve understanding of brain cancer biology, to improve survival for children and adults with brain cancer, but also improve the quality of life for people affected by brain cancer. And within the implementation plan, you'll see that there's sort of, this can be broken down into one or two more detailed priority areas for investment, and list the potential grant opportunities designed under these areas. And this was important to ensure that going forward that we put investment in the right areas and it's clear what people are applying for as well. Next slide, please. So in terms of what we're really seeking, there's a consultation hub that you would be aware of. And under that consultation hub, the questions were, are the priority areas for investment identified in the implementation plan essentially the most effective way for delivering on the mission's goals and aims? Are there existing research activities which could be utilised to contribute to the mission's roadmap or implementation plan aims and priority areas for investment, and how can these be leveraged? Are the evaluation approach and measures appropriate for assessing and monitoring progress towards the mission's goal and aims? So this is where we hope that you will go to the consultation hub and enter that, and I'll get to that in a minute on how you do that. So next slide, please. So if you, we have an opportunity now as well to answer some questions. So you can type those into the Q&A in your Teams, and we will go through that and address and answer the questions. Questions and feedback will also be collated for the presenters, so so we can note them and discuss them also with the EAP later. Also, you can, all the submissions I mentioned, you can make through the consultation hub on Department of Health and Aged Care's website, consultations.health.gov.au. Even if you don't ask any questions now, really, we do value your input into this consultation and encourage you to go and enter that in the consultation hub. And the Minister for Health is very interested in your comments on the roadmap and implementation plan. And this will help us guide and help them, the Minister guide future MRFF investments. The online submissions close on the 20th of December, and that's the cut-off date. We can't accept any more late submissions, and you can see the link there to the website. So next slide, please. So you can keep connected with what's happening with the MRFF through, you can subscribe to the MRFF news. That's a good way to stay connected. In terms of having your say on any of the missions, by the way, not just this mission, you can go to the consultation health.gov.au hub. And you can also register to get information about MRFF. If you're a researcher, register for MRFF grant opportunities as well at the grantconnect.gov.au. And you can also look out at the grant opportunity forecast as well. There's a link there. And you can also follow on what I was going to say, X, formerly known as Twitter, for MRFF updates. And really, if you've got any additional questions, you can also email the department, MRFF, at health.gov.au. Next slide there. Well, thank you for your attention, and please send in your questions. Pass on to you, Jane, for any questions.
Yeah, my name is Jane Reid, and I'm the Director for the Missions Implementation and Strategy section, and I'll be facilitating the question section, the question and answer section of this presentation today. We really encourage you. This is a great opportunity to ask any questions about our expert advisory panel or about the MRFF. Please don't be shy. All right, so we have our first question, which asks about what were some of the key findings of the mid-cycle review of the brain cancer mission? And I think I will add to this question and also say, how were these considered by the expert advisory panel?
Yeah. So some of the findings were actually about doing some more basic research, as well as supporting early and mid-career researchers as part of the schemes. And just help me, Jane. I'm just trying to remember the list because I didn't put them in front of me. There was a few. So some of the comments were not about sort of the implementation specifically, was the broader findings. So, there had been some really good work already done as part of the mission. What they were also looking at about, the next steps, what else could be improved. So that was one of the aspects. And but in terms of maybe I can actually also just expand a little bit about the early and mid-career researchers. So while through this process, we haven't got just a separate category for early and mid-career researchers, we are building into the terminology and the structure of the grants that we're strongly encouraging that we get early and mid-career researchers either leading grants or being part of grants. And that this will also be seen favourably, because we do need to develop the next generation of medical researchers who are in this space, which, as we all know, requires a lot more work. Our job with brain cancer is not going to be over in 3 years. We need to continue this. Jane, do you have is there anything else I've missed out?
One of the other things that was recommended in the review was developing a more specific implementation plan, and that's part of why the department brought together the expert advisory panel. And when you have a look at it, you'll see that there's really the plan is now quite specific, so researchers will know several years in advance what the opportunity is going to be. And in addition to that being great for the researchers, it's also great to enable the establishment of partnerships and increase the ability to work with consumer groups, because there is that certainty about what is going to be offered and when it is going to be available.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, because the initial rollout of funding had a roadmap, but it didn't have an implementation plan. So that was part of the purpose of also doing that. And yes, sorry, I forgot that because I was so involved in doing it. I got forgot that completely. But that was actually a very important point, that people, because some of the missions that were developed later did have very clear roadmaps and implementation plans, but some of the earlier missions didn't have that. So that we feel that we've done well, and that's really, we also want your feedback on, are we on the right track here?
So another question that we've received is about, are there any plans to provide detailed feedback from reviewers for MRFF grant submissions? And the good news here is we are now providing, the MRFF is now providing qualitative feedback in addition to scores to applicants, because that can be quite helpful for applicants in improving their applications to future grants. So we have received a question about how most of the grant funding calls that allow for basic science also ask for an immediate impact on patients. And a question about whether these should be separate, more specific calls, and about what was the major finding with the review with respect to basic science.
Yep. I look there. So there was more. There was a lot of discussion around the review also about supporting more basic science, and you'll see from the roadmap and the implementation plan where there's 2 calls that actually incorporate basic science. Hate to call it basic science because I really do think it's discovery science. It sounds very simple when you say basic, but it's. I think that's really important. So that's what we've tried to incorporate into that. The question about translation is really, I think there is a perception in the community that if you have a question like that and you're not about to go to a clinical trial or something like that, that you won't get funded. That's not the case. What they want you to be thinking about is to be thinking about, even though your research may not be immediately clinically translatable, that you have actually an idea of how this may lead to translation and how you would go about that short, medium, long term. It's really about getting people thinking, but it doesn't stop unless there's a very specific criteria in that call about a clinical trial. And even then, most of the funding is often very early stage if you're going to do it, because remember, this is research. This is and we're trying to develop things for the clinic. So what I'd be saying, I encourage you to really be thinking about yes, that sort of short, medium, long term, but you don't have to be there when you apply for these grants. You've got to have a good explanation unless it is a specific call for something that's about to go into a phase 1. And if I haven't answered your question, please feel free to come back and I'll try and address that further.
So we have received a question about how will the mission be translated into rural, regional and remote Australia. And improving survival is incredibly important, however, it can come at a significant cost to rural and remote Australians. How will the mission adapt to support people living away from metropolitan areas?
Look, sorry, Jane.
Go ahead.
It's actually a very good question, because we actually spend a lot of time on the EAP talking about this and talking about, the wording of some of these call outs about ensuring that that where possible, it is not always possible to incorporate how they will reach these more remote communities, because it is important, and we know, if you live in a city, you get probably get more state-of-the-art treatment often than if you're living rural. So as part of these trials, incorporating, and that's where it's important, if you can incorporate people, if you're doing a trial or you're doing a research project, to incorporate people in rural and remote communities. So that is encouraged, and we consider this a lot. And while we can't impact the healthcare in those communities directly, because, like I said, this is research, you can actually include, and we strongly support including these communities as part of the research projects that people are doing that are relevant to something like that.
We have received a question about how does the next cycle of funding for the mission work. So there will be essentially 3 grant opportunities drawn from this refreshed implementation plan. The 2024 opportunity is currently open. Please consider applying. We love seeing a large number and diversity of applications coming into that. And there will be an additional opportunity opening in 2025, and then an additional one opening in 2026. All of these opportunities are published on the Grant Connect website, and we also put out an alert of when they're published in the MRFF newsletter. So if you saw that last slide of ways to stay in touch, signing up for the newsletter is a good way to get an alert essentially as soon as these opportunities are open. And you can also register on Grant Connect, so whichever way you prefer to get your information. So we've got a clarification about that. Right. Let's see if I understand the question. So the Australian Brain Cancer Mission is a bit unique in that it has both MRFF funding and funding from the funding partners, and we you'll see in some cases we report the funding from both sources together, but we're also very clear about the fact that it is 50 million that is coming from the Medical Research Future Fund. So we've received a question about, and I think this will have definitely been something that was considered by the EAP, about whether was there consideration over reducing the number of grant calls but increasing the size of allocations?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. There was a lot of discussion and debate on the panel. It's always this balance. Some people felt maybe we should have a lot of smaller calls, like with smaller pots of money. Some people felt there's already coverage, and this is where we landed in the end. We, a lot, because the NHMRC does have call outs for smaller grants. The idea was to have projects that would have a big impact, and where people are pulling in different expertise, interdisciplinary type expertise together. So we opted to go for slightly larger ones, but not massive ones where we would use it all. The panel, the EAP felt very strongly that if we were to use up, and we had that option to use up the money within the 2 rounds, that there would be a gap, and that wouldn't be good for the sector to have a gap in funding. And so the final decision was like that we landed on these 3 aims and the sub aims that would be funded as part of the next 3 rounds of funding. And as Jane mentioned, the current round is open for the first one of those 3 now. But that was the rationale there, because it felt that too many small pots of money are less likely to have a big impact.
Questions about what happens at the end of the current runway of the mission, and as is detailed in the MRFF third 10-year investment plan, extensions of the missions are subject to evaluations, and work on planning that evaluation is ongoing.
Yeah, and look at, and that's important, that at the end of when we finish the mission, even though some projects will still be going, there will be an evaluation of how it's the mission has gone, has it achieved most of its aims, etc., and what we set out to do. And I always encourage people to advocate as well, for funding in this space as well.
On the topic of rural and remote healthcare services, there's been a question about who decides when it's possible or when it's appropriate for regional and rural to be involved. And the way this works is grant applications are assessed by an independent grant assessment committee who score the application against a publicly available scoring matrix. You can find all of these resources on Grant Connect, and that includes aspects of whether these things have been appropriately considered. So an application that does not consider rural and regional aspects when it should have is likely to receive a poor score and not be funded.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, Jane, that's exactly right. I think where it's obvious that that there was opportunities to include rural and remote areas and not included, that won't be seen. You'd have to give a good explanation why it would be the case that you're not doing that. But again, this applies to specific areas of research that that is possible, and we do recognise that it won't apply to all types of research.
So we've received a question about whether the 2025 and 2026 opportunities will be repeats of the current 2024 grant opportunity.
No, the next round will be a different opportunity, but it will be part of those priority areas for investment. And then the third round will be similar, but not quite identical to the current round. But so that's a way to sort of think about it. But all of this is, yes, if you pull down the draft documents, etc., that's how the 3 rounds, they've already been sort of determined. So once this gets finalised, once the consultation finishes, this will all be up on the website, so you'll be able to plan ahead.
So we have received, continue on the topic of rural engagement, a question about whether the MRFF has considered adding KPIs or an indicator for rural engagement. This one might be one for Natasha, if she is available. If not, I can take it.
Sorry, Jane. I'm going to say I'm happy for either one of us to start. So maybe if you want to start, Jane, and then I will provide any additional information.
Yes, so we have the MRFF as a whole, not just in the Australian Brain Cancer Mission, has an ongoing focus on rural and remote research, as that has been identified as a priority area through the Australian Medical Research Board, through MREB, who define the priorities that apply across the MRFF. And as Natasha described earlier in the presentation, part of how they do this includes a national public consultation. And you can see what these priorities are on the department's website.
I will also expand on that if that's okay. So for the MRFF, and again, this is broader than the Brain Cancer Mission and broader than the missions themselves. We do have a real focus on priority populations. So part of those priority populations include rural, regional, and remote communities. So it's a very specifically identified priority population for us, but also priority populations including the LGBTQI plus community and culturally and linguistically diverse communities and First Nations as well. I will say that's probably not all of our priority populations that we have listed, but that's to give you a sense of some of those priority populations that we really do focus on as part of the work.
So we've received a question about how are the current funding projects being evaluated? For example, the Brain Cancer Infrastructure Grant, and are the outcomes made public? So as Maria and Natasha described earlier in the presentation, there is an MRFF monitoring, evaluation, and learning strategy, and that leads to each of the initiatives being evaluated on a sort of rolling basis. So you can have a look at the evaluation that was done on the Australian Brain Cancer Mission on our website that will tell you more details about our evaluation strategy and how we are measuring the impact of the missions as well as their progress towards their goal. These documents are done specifically for each initiative because the different missions and the different initiatives have a different goals that they are trying to achieve.
I was going to say, and sorry, I'll hop in before there's another question. One of the things that I had mentioned earlier on is about that sort of continuous improvement and growth when it comes to the MRFF in terms of what we do. So as Jane had referred to, we have that monitoring and evaluation and learning strategy that we apply. We are publishing more and more information about the MRFF. So there are a range of reports that we're publishing as well as data. So please do have a look on our website as well for that. And again, my answers are broader than the missions and broader than the Brain Cancer Mission itself. But it is very much about having a range of reports and data available, including things like our recent health and medical research workforce audit, and also having a chief investigator's report as well. So very much about that evaluation and learning and development component.
We don't have any further questions. I've also been reminded of the fact that the MRFF recently published a report on rural, regional and remote health. So you can also have a look at that about how we're doing, and someone will be posting, Cindy hopefully will be posting a link to that in the chat soon, because that's another resource of how, as Natasha mentioned, we're publishing more data, and so that people can increasing our focus on things like evaluations.
Okay, so no more questions, Jane?
I think no. Yes, because there are a few cases where I combined two questions into the one question. If your question wasn't asked exactly as you typed it, to reduce the redundancy in the presentation. But I think that is all of the questions that we have.
Fantastic. Well, I just want to thank all the participants today for coming along and listening to this. And like I mentioned earlier, please, go to the Consultation Hub, put your comments. If you've got any other questions you haven't thought about, or you go away and you think about them, please send them to the office for, and as part of the consultation, ideally, so we can try and address as many as we can. We, want to get this as right as we can, and your input's very valuable to us.
I would just like to thank Maria for being the wonderful chair of our EAP, and for agreeing to give this presentation today. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you. Okay, we survived.